Hey all, welcome to Bullets and Brass. I'm Remy, and today we are talking about considerations for your primary carry gun. This is your everyday carry. We're not worried about, if I can only pick one forever or anything like that. This is strictly, what are you looking at when you're picking out a new carry gun? And we're going to look at this from my perspective. There are different people with different perspectives and different criteria. And I'm going to treat it much more general rather than pick this one. It's going to be why I weigh certain things differently than somebody else might. And let's get into it. So I have a small selection sitting here, and I'm just going to run through them real quick just so you can see what we're talking about. HK USP compact. 9mm, so it's the 9/40 frame. Full size 1911. J-frame revolver. This one's 357 Ladysmith. For purposes of this review, or not review, but this discussion, we're going to assume it actually has a carry grip, not this much bigger full-size grip. And a compact 1911. Now, these are not representing their specific firearm. They're representing categories. This is representing the mid-size to compact plastic guns. Plastic framed, standard slides. Could be a Glock, could be a Springfield, could be a Smith & Wesson, could be a CZ. I mean, it could be a SIG, it could be anything. It also kind of represents a lot of traditional double action, single action automatics. A SIG 226 fits in this category. There's a lot of them. It's kind of a broad category item. The full-size 1911 kind of represents all full-size handguns, but specifically, there's something special about 1911s that we'll talk about in a bit. There are not too many guns that share these properties, so it's worth talking about. The Smith & Wesson J-frame could be an LCR, it could be a Colt, any small revolver is really what we're talking about. We're not talking about 22s where they've gotten even smaller. We're not talking about any of the larger frame handguns. We're strictly talking about J-frame size. Once you leave that category, I think that you are either trading off horsepower, basically, for maximum concealability, or you've gotten away from an everyday carry into, there's a reason I'm carrying a big gun. Now, the little 1911 represents pretty much little 1911s, to be honest. There's not too many other guns like this. You could try to put some of the new single stack 9mm that are coming on the market into this category. Certainly a lot of them share properties with this and are definitely going to take market share. I think that they are moving in a good direction. I have some holsters here. This is a Milt Sparks VM2, specifically for the HK. I have a 1911 holster, compact holster from Kirkpatrick Leather. This is an outside the waistband holster, but for the purposes of this, we're going to consider this an inside the waistband. It's more for size. And we have my custom. I had them remove the top flap that sticks up, which you can see on the back of this one, right here. This one doesn't have it. I prefer it without it, but I carry this in the summer a lot, despite it being more of a pain in the ass to carry because it's thicker. I carry it in the summer a lot, and I wanted the sweat guard. I carry this more in the winter, and specifically didn't care. There was going to be another layer of fabric between me and the firearm, and it's one less layer. It's one less thing in the way. These are excellent. Oh, my bad. Totally forgot that doesn't fit with the laser. So We'll fake it. Okay? You'll just have to pretend that's full size. I forgot I put the laser grips on here and it doesn't fit in that holster anymore. So, there we go. What are my criteria? My criteria start with weight. Weight is the number one issue with carrying a firearm all the time. J-frame, Baby 1911. Now, the Baby 1911, if it's a steel frame, is a little different. They're a little heavier. This is the aluminum frame. It is much lighter than a lot of guns. There's a lot of power here for not a lot of weight. 357, lightweight. This isn't one of the super light ones. This isn't a scandium or titanium frame, but only 5 rounds. We'll get to that. Next, length. Now I'm talking this length, not this. This length, I don't care about a whole lot. And I'll show you why. And I was gonna put it back in that holster and that doesn't work. Okay. What part of this shows above the belt line? Because these are belt loops, right? So right here is your belt line. This. None of this. Doesn't matter. Makes no difference. Now, a full-size 1911, it is borderline. Don't get me wrong. The length is borderline. I'm not a small guy. I'm 20 pounds overweight. I am 5'10", and when I sit down in the car, it's right there. It's putting a divot in my seat a little bit compared to not having it. But I can sit in my office. I can sit, in a car. I can sit at dinner. No issues. I did it for years. This was not this particular one, but a full-size 1911 was my primary carry gun for years. I specifically bought this one, not because it's shorter this way, but because it's a little shorter this way and a lot lighter. This probably weighs a third less, if not half, what a full-size 1911 weighs once it's all loaded. Now, what else? The width. I like skinny, but I also care more about the skinny here. I don't care about this so much. I care about it here. I care about how much this is going to add to my waistline. Now, frame-wise, this is not a whole lot bigger than this. If we're talking right back here, okay, if anything, it's smaller. But it is blocky. Okay, there's no nice curves to that on the top. There is no smooth profile. And more importantly, when you come down here, it's the same width as the slide. The slide to the frame, it's all one profile. If you look at it on 1911, the whole thing slims down. It gets kind of small. That's a single stack thing. A lot of single stack firearms do that. I think that the beauty of the slimmer shape, the overall, if you put a tape measure around it, and what is the circumference? The less that you've got, the better. And I care about it right here at the waistline. Not so much up here, not so much down here. I care right where it goes through my belt. Now, this guy in here versus this guy, I mean, you can see that. That is noticeable, right? I don't know how easy that is to see on camera. Much chunkier. To the point where this is uncomfortable to carry for me. It's like a brick. I honestly dislike carrying this. and it led me to purchase the J-frame. Now, the Smith & Wesson is by far, well, I don't know by far, significantly lighter. It is also shorter in every dimension. If you put the boot grip on here, it only comes to like right there, and it's pretty slim, short this way. I mean, you can tuck this in a pocket. I do. I put it in my jacket pocket on a regular basis. I've got a bobbed hammer that the previous owner did, so it is slick. But if you're putting this in an inside the waistband holster, that width, yeah, that width is a pain in the butt. It's right at your belt line. It is, you're pressing that cylinder into your hip. Now, whether it's your hip, your waist, your kidneys, your back, your appendix, I mean, wherever you're carrying it, you've got that piece of metal. If you're carrying something like this, it's nice and smooth. It's pretty narrow. It tapers at both ends. It's comfortable. I've gone on and on about that, but I can't stress it enough. Comfort. Your goal with a carry gun is to be carrying a gun. Your goal with a carry gun is not to carry the coolest gun. It's not to carry the biggest gun. It's to actually be carrying it. What else? Caliber. To me, caliber is a bad argument. It is something that is almost irrelevant in the decision on its own. Caliber affects other things. Caliber affects the overall size of the firearm. You cannot make a 45 caliber firearm as small as you can make a 9mm firearm. To me, caliber is a decision that is affected by everything else. And then it's, okay, that's the caliber. 9, 45, 357. I don't have any 380s anymore. I don't have any 32s. I kind of think that 9mm is as low as I'm willing to go. But again, we're talking everyday carry. Certainly, if you are looking for a gun that is as concealable as possible for a particular reason, 380 or 32 is better than nothing. Round count. That's the last thing we're going to cover. We're already at 20 minutes of unedited video, so I'm going to have to trim this down. Round count to me is much less important. This is 5 rounds of 357 Magnum. That's 2 double taps and 1 for, okay, you know, who's next? You know, is there somebody else? Is there a third bad guy? You know, I've got a round left of, hey, you know, cool your jets. Either run away or get on the ground, okay? That's 2 double taps of 357 Magnum. That's not, you know, a 22. That's not even a 32. That's 357 Magnum. Your goal is to stop the threat. Your goal is not to be out there playing Grand Theft Auto or Call of Duty. Your goal is to protect your life and stop the threat. You can look at all the statistics you want. The statistics for you actually put rounds in somebody's torso show that 357, 45, 9, all pretty darn similar. If you shoot somebody in the arm, it doesn't really matter what you shot them with. But if you're looking to stop the fight right then, center of mass with enough power. Having more power, mostly wasted. But you can get on and on and on. 44 Magnum is kind of the king of the handguns for self-defense. They make smaller revolvers in 44. Yeah, they are a pain to shoot. You're not going to practice enough. And unless you're very careful with what you load in them, most of that energy is wasted. You go through the person and it's wasted out the other side. The ideal scenario when you shoot somebody for self-defense is that the bullet stops or just barely makes it through them. That's ideal. What are most of these going to do? Just that. It's kind of These are standard self-defense calibers. They're standard calibers the police use for the same reasons. The FBI in particular does a lot of testing. It's one of the things they do for the law enforcement market is they test ammunition. Don't waste that. The FBI has established criteria that they did for a reason. Use it. Anyway, thank you for watching. Take care, stay safe, and have fun, y'all.